appears to be escalating its pressure campaign against Harvard University. 3 people familiar with the matter tell the New York Times the Internal Revenue Service is weighing whether to revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status, something the president called for in a post on his social media website earlier this week. With us now to talk about this and more, USA Today Washington Bureau Chief Susan Page and former Ohio Governor John Kasich. He is the author of the new book, Heaven Help Us. So, Susan, what does it take for an institution to lose its tax-exempt status?
Well, it would be quite a serious thing. That gives them a lot of advantages in their operations. It means contributions from alums are tax deductible. But, you know, there is no university in the United States better able to withstand a fight with President Trump than Harvard. It has very deep pockets, a huge endowment, a lot of smart lawyers. And so unlike Columbia and some other elite universities, it is choosing to fight the Trump administration's demands for concessions on things like protest, admissions, and faculty. Jose.
And Governor, I mean, what's behind the president's fight with Harvard, and not only just Harvard, I mean, with other universities and colleges as well?
I think I think this is a fight against, quote, these intellectual elites, which I consider to be, a really bad fight. Look, I don't agree with everything that I experienced when I was in college, but it is a place where, first of all, really vital research is being done in healthcare in particular. And secondly, these are the places that generate intellectual discussions. And I understood just the other day when we talked about the need to do something to stop the anti-Semitism. But this looks like a full-scale assault. And look, Harvard's going to go through a big fight here. Columbia has now decided, apparently, Susan, to join that fight. I know what it's like to go through, kind of being down, being criticized and all that. But Harvard's standing tall in the long run. Maybe not in the short run, but in the long run, I think they will get grudging respect from people who say, they've stood up for the independence of the ability to teach and to support free discussion about all these things that drive intellectual discussions and in a lot of respects our culture.
Yeah, I mean, and Susan, meanwhile, you have a new piece in USA Today focusing on the president's troubles as he closes in on 100 days in office. What do you see as being the president's biggest troubles now?
Well, it was a serious matter yesterday when a district court judge threatened him with an investigation into contempt of court. But that wasn't the worst news he got yesterday. I think the worst news he got yesterday was from the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, who predicted that there were going to be higher prices, inflation, that there's going to be slower growth. Slower growth plus inflation is what during the Carter administration was dubbed stagflation, and it is politically disastrous. Trump has been quite the survivor. He has defied political gravity. But when you're affecting people's 401ks, then that becomes, I think, a serious and personal matter, even for some Trump supporters.
I mean, Governor, those Trump supporters and this tariff war that has really begun, and it's every day intensifying. We see the Prime Minister of Italy today, Meloni, at the White House. But the biggest challenge is China. And I'm just wondering, Governor, how much do you think the American people have patience with this trade war and the reasoning behind this trade war?
Well, I think Susan hit on it. As we know, Jose, the last election was determined by the pocketbook. And as people begin to feel this in the pocketbook, they're going to say, why? Now, we know that China has ripped us off. They've stolen our intellectual property. They have had unfair trade practices. Frankly, I think that it needed to be dealt with, but it should have been dealt with a group of nations that could really put pressure on China and take decisive action as a group. But this is where we are. I think that most Americans are saying it's about time we got tough with them. And I think it's going to hold up until we get to a point where people start feeling. But as Susan pointed out, look, we have a number of things happening economically now. The prospect of inflation. We've seen the decline in the dollar, which is not good for the United States, contrary to what some people say. We see the bond market, the yields are way up because people are not wanting to buy our debt. This is a signal for what we may face if we don't get our fiscal house in order. So I would say that right now Republicans are still giving him a chance, but patience is definitely running thin, and we're beginning to see some slight movement away from Trump among Republicans.
And John, the Trump administration suing Maine's education department for not complying with the government's push to ban transgender athletes from girls' sports. This is really about something much bigger than just Maine.
Well, look, the number of transgender athletes who are really competing, of all the total athletes and all the competitions, is really very, very small. I mean, I happen to think that, we should not have boys playing in girls' basketball games or any of those other things. But I think this comes about, frankly, because the governor of Maine says we have a law in Maine. I'm going to.
Well, look at that. Bigotry froze itself.
There's